If you're familiar with the Kauffman Foundation, a large philanthropy, they've been around for a long time. They have a special focus on supporting entrepreneurs across the nation. Somewhere in the US, there are other MCs happening at the same time as ours, which is really great. And we allow 1 to 2 presenters every week. We actually invite them, not allow, that get to present for 6 minutes. And today is going to be a little bit different format, but typically a presenter presents for 6 minutes. They share their story. They're not pitching. They're presenting. They're telling you the story, where they're at, where they hope to be, and maybe an ask of what we can do as a community to support them, followed by 20 minutes of Q&A. That's the typical format, and then the same for the second presenter. But today, we are going to move away from the traditional. And we have some special guests here, friends of mine that I feel very lucky to know and connect with and work with. And so they're going to present. It's going to be about a 15-minute presentation. They're presenting as a team. And then we will follow that with Q&A. Something I wanted to remind you, both presenters and those of you in the room, there is time to network afterwards. So there's no haste in getting all this information out in that space. But when we're done, please feel free to stay. Trevor graciously offers the space for use afterwards, so feel free to stay and network. That's really what this is about, making those connections and really together building a stronger entrepreneurial ecosystem for all of us. And it starts right here in this room. There is a QR code in the back if you want to, you don't have to now, but if you want to sign in and be a part of our 1MC community. If you ever want to present, just please let me know, or myself or Trevor, and we'd be happy to talk to you about that. So, without further ado, the Whiterabbit Bioregional Accelerators are here to entertain and enlighten us. Where are we? Entertain and enlighten.
Ooh. We're excited to be here. We drove down from Ashland, Oregon, and we've been here before. Big fans of Grants Pass, and especially the Hive. So thanks for having us. I'm Thor. This is Aaron and Cynthia, and we have an Aurora who will be popping up here shortly. This is the first time we've actually presented Whiterabbit, and so we welcome your feedback. I moved to Rogue Valley about 3 years ago, a little less than that, and I immediately fell in love. We have family here. And we moved from Amsterdam, of all places. And I had started having conversations with just a few people. I didn't have many friends, and I was very interested in making friends, getting to know people who were interested in similar things. And the thing which we were talking about, this is in early 2023, was AI. We could see that this was something that was going to change our lives and change business. And we were having these really interesting conversations about exactly how we were using it, what we thought would happen, risks, opportunities. And we started asking ourselves, well, who else around here is having these conversations? There must be somebody else. And we decided to reach out to, we decided to throw a meetup and invite people in the community to join us in a conversation. But the question was, where could we do this? And it occurred to me that ScienceWorks, which is our local science museum, might be a great place to do it. So I reached out and I met Cynthia and Aaron.
And at this time, I had been making nature documentaries and I was CTO of a software company. But through the pandemic, I joined ScienceWorks to help in a time of crisis. And this is where I brought in Cynthia, who I'd worked with for a decade before. Originally, I'm from here and Cynthia's been in town for a long time. ScienceWorks was a community organization in a very difficult place. So I brought Cynthia in to help me run this through this time. You want to try?
Sure. Okay. So ScienceWorks was struggling, and so it was sort of like what you do when things are struggling. You try everything, and you open your doors, and you invite the community in. And so when Thor came over and said, I want to do this meetup here, I'm like, yay, let's do it. And so it began without a lot of planning. We just went for it, and it worked really well.
So we put up some flyers, and we didn't know if anybody would show up. But indeed, people started showing up. The first one we had maybe a dozen people, and then the next one it was maybe a few more. And by the third week, we just stopped putting up, or the third time, we do these as bi-weekly events. We decided we'd stop putting up flyers. And over the next year, we saw that word of mouth grew our community to hundreds of people coming through over time, not each event. But we were scratching an itch that was not being scratched. And it demonstrated the power of a timely topic and a community design. With that, in September,
After a year of running these meetups, a sponsor came to us with the idea of running an AI summit, and that evolved into the Region AI Summit. But whereas traditionally many will start off creating a conference trying to bring in as many people as possible, we did the opposite path. We limited the total attendance, and we aimed to have a conference that brought together people from in the valley, but also outside of the valley, to bring change makers from Silicon Valley, from Portland, from Seattle, to have conversations together on this topic that many people locally were feeling like we're out of the conversation. I know myself, I was feeling like there were a lot of conversations that must be happening, but we weren't part of them. So we had this conference that brought everyone together, and we learned a lot from it.
what did you see?
So this was the interesting thing. I used to just drop in on this AI meetup because I just wanted to see how it was unfolding. And in the beginning, it was all about AI's coming for our jobs, we're scared. And then as I would, again, just drop in and out, I didn't have time to sit in every single meeting, but I could always touch in. I noticed that all of a sudden everybody was planning together and collaborating together, and they were no longer talking about being afraid. They were excited because they saw potential of how all of them together could begin to change the story around AI, change the story around our community. This tool could make it possible for us all to collaborate.
Yeah. So in summary, what we learned is that our stories often don't match what's actually happening, right? The stories we were told is that there are no technology people around here. People aren't interested in this sort of thing around here. This is a retirement community. This is an arts community. And yet what we saw was when we created space is that people brought their real stories. And they started to make stories together. It turned out that with a little bit of organizational structure, people started to make their own side events. They started to collaborate together. It doesn't take much to inspire people to self-organize. And the third thing is that when we think about technology in particular, in places like the Rogue Valley, there is often a concern that we're selling out to a Silicon Valley or big tech or big finance, that we don't want to do that. We didn't move to this area, or we didn't cultivate the values of this area to simply be a clone of Silicon Valley. But what we see in our events is that people are making these technologies their own. They're applying them to the crafts, the science, the restoration work, the development work that matters to them here in the Rogue Valley.
And coming out of the conference, I've had many people come to me afterwards who came to Thor and our presentation on AI coding, and many of them were never coders before. But after that talk, they downloaded some of the tools we referenced, and they've built their own websites, even if they didn't consider themselves web designers, or they've built their own web apps. From the meetups, we've had people go from being entirely only an author to having written tens of thousands of lines of code in partnership with their AI partner that are changing entirely the way we can build things, and thus the way ideas go from inception to implementation. And in the Rogue Valley, we're in a very unique place because we have an extraordinary arts and culture. We have a lot of talent. We don't come together necessarily enough. This is where organizations like the Hive are exceptional because they bring a lot of different disciplines together for conversations. We're in an ideal location between San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and Portland and Seattle. and we have that natural splendor in an area of some of the highest biodiversity on the planet that can draw people from city centers to come outdoors and hold conversations together. And because of that, we also have a community that has capital for investment and an innovative mindset, because we're facing the forefront of some of the major problems today, like wildfire. Wildfire being a threat to all of our communities now, and we need solutions for it. And this drives rapid innovation.
So with such incredible assets, why does it feel like so often it's harder than it should be? Our premise is that we just need a little bit of help, a bit of a platform that will bring together all those assets that Aaron was just talking about in ways that are more accessible to us all. And so we call this a bioregional accelerator. And the reason why it's bioregional is because we have these unique perspectives and values and skills that are connected to place. And we can't just import a model, an incubator model from the big city, or even a medium-sized city with a large university, research university, and expect it to work here. We need a solution that's truly homegrown. So Whiterabbit is born of this time and this place, and we have a model we think can really help. And it's basically emergent from the experiments we've already been running. And as you'll see, experimentation, quick, light experimentation is the core of our whole premise. So we're kind of, we're walking the walk here with what we want to do with the accelerator. So there's 3 parts to our accelerator. Part 1 is what we've started with, right? This is learning and community building, right? The kinds of programs, workshops, meetups, and so forth that actually bring the people together who are inspired, have skills, and a desire to build. And that naturally leads into what we call a solutions lab. This is probably the most unique part of what we're doing. We want to, AI is instrumental in making this possible. We want to make it almost effortless to build quick prototypes that actually solve problems for organizations, for individuals, for companies, and see what works. When things work, we now have visibility into potential for new businesses, new projects that are fundable and could lead to high growth, which means new jobs and new economic opportunities for people. So it's essentially a developmental pipeline that starts with the community, grows through solving real problems day to day, and then has the opportunity to level them up.
So the meetups are the onboarding for this whole platform, because what we found is people enjoy coming together for conversations. Many of them will just stay at the level of joining conversations every other week, but some of them are looking to build their own tool chains, their own skills, so that they can improve how they do their work or start a new company. And that's where we start running these workshops and bring in talks like we're having tomorrow and Friday. We have Chelsea Heath coming up for a workshop to teach about generative video production.
In our solutions lab, we're already working with organizations like Firebrand, which is an organization that has been worked with in the aftermath of the Almeida fires to help to repair the community physically, to bring in organizations, and then to ultimately create resilience for future fires. We're building tools like this timeline, which helps them coordinate and tell stories around their past, so they can develop new funding for the future and influence the environment. So we ran our first collaboratory at the beginning of the year, which had people bring their projects in, and we and our members helped each other develop the next steps in their prototypes. And then finally here, the third stage, Venture Studio. Our members are already launching new products. This is one called Illuminoy, launching this week. This is interactive light sculptures. They're incredibly beautiful, handcrafted, incorporate technology, but in a way which is really unique to the vision of this creator. And so this is the first of many new startups that we're helping to bring to market. And with that, we get a case study for.
Me. Okay. Okay, so remember, I was at ScienceWorks, and I was there trying to help our museum survive. And so what happened was I was there coming from downtown Ashland. I was putting on the Festival of Lights parades, the Children's Halloween parade. I was helping Treehouse and doing a lot of community building in our downtown. So now I'm trying to do it around ScienceWorks. And I've always had this storytelling game, which I'm now calling Ashlandia, but I called it originally the Secret Story World. And it's this idea that it is, like I saw with the lab, it's the stories that we tell that shape our lives, and the stories we tell together shape our world. And so I had 12 story games, one for each month of the year, around time travel, going to wizard school, mystery in the museum, but they all tied in life skills, such as goal setting for the time traveler, you know, looking into the future and looking into the past. And wizard school is about learning how to focus your energy so that you can make the changes you want to make. And superhero boot camp is your fitness game. So I created these things, but I didn't know how to get it out into the world. And so, because that's a lot to organize, and I'm just one person, and even with volunteers, it still is a lot. I needed help. I attended the AI conference, sat next to all these creative people, and all of a sudden it was very clear to me that I could create AI guides, storytelling characters who could guide people through these games and get the whole community to play. And so Ashlandia was born. It's an immersive experience, 12 months of story, 4 seasons of celebration. We've got the monthly chapters where we go to wizard school, or we're time travelers, or we're going to a superhero boot camp. We've got quarterly seasonal celebrations, and we're making year-round memories while we're building our community. Because we can solve anything. We can take on any problem if we're all working together. And so, again, telling those stories that allow us to do it is really important. So that's what this game is. And so you get your Ashlandia passport that has all 12 stories in it, and you meet your AI guide. You head out into your adventure. You choose your story. And so we're playing monthly games together, time travel in January when people are thinking about the year and the goals, and we're letting go of the year that was, and we're stepping into the year that will be. We go to wizard school in the spring. We have a romance relationship game, Fairy Godmother's Tea Party in June. And we go to the Monster Ball in October and tame our monsters. So, you know, those voices in our heads that tell us, you know, we can't do it. Don't try. Stay safe. So, and we use these games with kids, like our Mythic Muse Marketplace, which is 30 days to create a project and get it out into the world. We've had 14 kids launch businesses, little tiny businesses, and it's been amazing. The Cookie Cave was developed, and the child created cookies for November and then rolled right into creating another round of cookies for the holidays. And it was fun to watch her iterate her project. So your AI guides, we've got the university and the AI lab is helping us create these AI guides that we're building, where you can go downtown and the guide will explain the game. It'll send you out on clues. Like right now we're building the wizard, which is going to launch in March, and the wizard will actually send you on a quest to find your wizard supplies and teach you a little magic along the way. But we'll also have historical guides that can share the history of a mural that we're painting on the historic Ashland Elks Lodge building. That mural will have guides that will explain to you what you're looking at, because this is going to be a beautiful John Pugh mural that's going to be a place-based explanation of the history of our town, starting with the indigenous roots. And so you'll be able to hear those stories told through the native tribal people in our area, in our region. There's going to be a story landscape, working with the artists. AI isn't taking anything from anybody. AI is just allowing us to, again, collaborate, work together. There'll be immersive soundscapes, light shows. We'll have sculptures, and they'll be interactive. They'll allow you to become part of the story. And again, the AI guides will be there to help you move through this landscape and discover all the stories and all of the little gnome doors hidden around town. You'll be guided and assisted to reach out. And then we're working with the university. Like I said, the computer science department, some of the capstone students are busy building our guides. We're putting together a proposal for using, there's a building in SOU that cannot be used for anything except art instructions. In fact, that's how I met Aurora, because Aurora was creating amazing installations for this building, and I said, can we use this to develop our pieces for Ashlandia before they go out into the community? And the university said, I think we can do that. So we're working with the Honors College and the art department for that. The businesses all work together. Right now, many of them do have gnome doors, and we'll continue to expand this out over the course of the time. But the users, the participants, the visitors to town, and the people who live in the community, they get a part in the story. They get to build gnome doors. They get to share their stories, and that gets woven into the fabric of our stuff. AI calendar. So it's hard to know what's going on. I'm sure it's the same in any town. You realize an event happened that you wanted to go to the next day, and I always am so bummed out. I missed out. And so AI will help us make sure that we're able to aggregate all these events and amplify the events that we create through Ashlandia, because we're going to have a quarterly festival lineup, seasonal events that'll happen, winter fantasy, spring fairy tale. Again, we're working into these story genres just to remind ourselves that we all have mythologies that we tell. We all have folk tales that we share. We all have holiday stories that we tell. So we're going to just start really sharing them together and have these amazing events. And then we're just going to invite the community to join us in creating this together. This cannot be done by me or AI or a handful of artists. It needs to be all of us involved and participating. So.
Why don't you just come up and wrap up? Yeah. We're a little over time, but we're wrapping up now.
Hi, I'm Aurora, and I joined the story when I came to Cynthia with a project proposal. I wanted to explore the decentralized intelligence of mycelium through installation art. And then I went on to experience design and perform in the Region AI Summit. I loved this project, and I was inspired by the Region AI Summit because it was carrying on the work that mycelium does in our ecosystems by bringing different parts of the ecosystem together, opening up channels of communication and collaboration, and allowing for better sense-making and adaptation. And we were able to work with these partners in the summit, and we're excited to continue that work in the Whiterabbit Accelerator. I spent a year on campus at Southern Oregon University last year, and I noticed that there was just this passion and this imagination and these bright ideas in the student body, and yet very, very little engagement between the students and the larger community in Ashland, let alone the whole valley. And I mean, when was the last time you saw young people collaborating with their elders, or students infusing their ideas into local businesses? Imagine the powers we can unlock when the people most fluent in these digital spaces can work together with those with physical real estate, those tending the land. And that's why I think the Whiterabbit can really lift our community by allowing more intergenerational collaboration. And we invite you to come collaborate with us. You can get involved this week. If you're a media producer, creator, please come to our workshop on Friday or the lab tomorrow. We're going to be learning how to use AI as a partner in our process of creating. And then on February 13th, there is a wildfire presentation, expanded lab. It's going to be really pertinent for our community. So please come join us in Ashland. And we want to hear your stories. Come join the Whiterabbit as it's shaping and taking form and be part of this story with us. Thank you.
Hello. Ooh, that was loud. Thank you. Thank you very much. We are going to open it up to questions now. And who would like to start us off? I know your minds are thinking. Are you processing? Damien? Yeah. This is my go-to, yeah. Annie's next.
They chose me to have a question, so here I am. Honestly, I think that what I'm processing at the moment is you have a number of different facets happening at once, and we just got kind of snowballed with a lot of information. So if you were to explain what Whiterabbit does to my 10-year-old, what would you say?
I would say, well, if she had a great idea and she wanted to bring it into the world, but she didn't know how to do that, or who could help her, Whiterabbit would be the place to go to make her dream a reality.
Excellent. And how many different people are showing up on a regular basis? Like, what's your attendance like? What's the collaboration like? Fill me in a little bit more there.
Yeah. So, well, the Region AI Summit was 150 people, about a third from outside the area. And in our meetups, we tend to have about 30 people, 25, 30 people. Again, this is, we're right now, the form we are taking is the Rogue Valley AI Lab. And Whiterabbit is essentially us taking that to the next level, expanding it beyond AI per se. So when we look forward to the next incarnation, Whiterabbit in its full form, we would expect hundreds of people per week to touch our programs.
Hello, thank you so much for the presentation. I'm Dana Pearson. I'm in economic development here with the city in Grants Pass. And so my question is kind of focused on the economic element. I'm curious about how you see this having an economic impact. I'm just kind of envisioning, some of this stuff is going to attract tourism perhaps, but also for those folks that are connecting with you, perhaps growing their own businesses, that sort of thing. How do you see the economic impact of this?
I'm sure Cynthia has her answer for Ashlandia, but the model we're taking here is, I didn't mention my background. I currently am a principal at a firm called Mach 49, and we build incubators and accelerators for Global 1,000 companies. And so the kinds of challenges that I see in a region like this are not so dissimilar from the kinds of challenges a large company has, i.e., most of the people are not hired to do new things. They're hired to optimize old things. So you have a cultural challenge, et cetera, to innovate or create new models that are good fit for the time. So, but in general, what we're looking for are to identify opportunities that have the ability to be much bigger than the current businesses that are existent in an area. So my model for the accelerator is about $500 million in new revenues over 10 years in the area is a good target. And that means spawning, the idea is the venture model is you create a lot more businesses than will be big hits. And you play a law of averages, and some of them are hits. Now, I'm not even assuming that we're going to have Silicon Valley unicorns, but I think we should be able to produce a new generation of businesses that are able to, although it's hard to say what the employment impact will be, given we are at the edge of a new era of work style, but we're talking about businesses that are producing between $10 and $100 million a year. We need a new crop of these, and these are going to come from either applying technology on old problems or discovering new problems. And So our whole idea is to use our unique bioregional perspective to to cover the areas that are not going to be covered in other areas. So $500 million of economic impact is my answer.
Okay, thanks.
Specific services that you offer to embryonic initiatives, and also what's your economic model?
The whole landscape of how business runs is in shock a little bit, and it's changing. And that leads us to an opportunity, because what used to take a lot of time to run in a business now has the potential to be optimized or shared across businesses. So part of what we look at is finding those points and helping existing businesses optimize how their programs run so that they can increase their revenue and reach further. Another part is, as Thor says, creating these new ventures, and a lot of that is product development. We have much more optimized tools now for creating new products in collaboration with AI and humans to build products that honestly will work better and be more appealing to people, especially customized for our local communities. Whereas I've spent most of my career, or my whole career and beyond, in software development trying to build very generalized solutions, because software was slow to build and hard to build. Now software is getting much faster to build, and we can build solutions in matters of days rather than years or decades. And that lets us build solutions for local businesses that are specific to the Rogue Valley, rather than specific to the United States or the whole world. So our services are part around building software to support these businesses and spinning some of those products into their own businesses, and the others are in consulting and service to help optimize the way existing programs are running. You want to add?
The only thing I'll add is the model for us is ultimately an equity-based model. So we participate in our company's success through equity, i.e. stock. Sometimes we will create businesses from scratch as part of our venture studio, and sometimes we will work as partners in businesses that may already exist but need to be transformed. But it's an equity-based revenue model as the primary revenue stream. So we're partnering. We're actually working with existing investors and trying to. The idea is to facilitate the creation of a parallel seed fund. There are some dormant funds in the area. The problem is there is no supply. There's not a significant supply of investable businesses. I mean, there are, by investable, I mean businesses that return, through venture scale, even modest venture scale returns. There are some, but not enough to drive a kind of steady state seed fund, but we want to change that. So these things will co-evolve. More money, more ventures. That's a feedback cycle.
So can you talk a little bit more specifically about the resources that you can provide?
Today?
Software development.
In terms, today what we have is a brain trust that is capable of developing 0 to 1. When I say 0 to 1, I mean from nothing to something that is commercial, early stage commercial, in a rapid time frame. And by rapid time frame, I mean a month or less. We can usually get a prototype up that solves a problem in a matter of days, as Aaron said. And then to get it to something which is commercial, i.e. People can pay for, takes a few weeks. To get it to early go-to-market, probably 4 to 6 weeks. So that's the time frame that we are now seeing we can compress down to. Now you think about that. If you can get a product to market in 4 to 6 weeks, you don't have to be. You can be wrong a lot on the path to discovering where your product market fit is. So if 5 years ago it took a year to 12 to 18 months to really give an idea a solid turn of the crank to see if it was going to work, you can now get these. It's more like 6 to 8 weeks to validate or not an idea.
just a question. It's a very interesting presentation, but where do we stand on climate change?
To clarify, are you referring to the energy usage of AI systems or climate change in general on our valley and globally?
Climate change generally, globally. I was born in 1944, and I would like to live long enough to see the planet start cooling.
One of the biggest problems we face environmentally is that the systems are too complex to model with our existing technology. We've been trying to model weather, we've been trying to model climate impacts for a very long time. But those systems, even at a very small scale, even microclimate, can affect the greater area. We certainly see solutions, and we're personally passionate about building solutions, helping support solutions that help us not manage systems based on generalizations or blanket solutions to the problem, but help to understand how the greater Earth ecosystem really does run. And that's something we haven't had the technology until now to even consider being able to do.
Thank you.
So I do have one question, but what you just said, I want to just challenge a little bit. We do actually have the technology to be modeling all of this stuff. My son happens to be working for the Department of Energy, modeling hurricane predictions and flow ingresses for storm surges and stuff like that. And what we can do is actually pretty amazing science.
It's incredible what we can do, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's considering essentially from our computational standpoint, infinite of the complexity. We can't model very far out. Not to downplay at all what we are capable of, but in order to solve these global problems, when we're combining biodiversity impacts, climate, longer term impacts of removing CO2 from the atmosphere and sequestering it, the systems are far beyond anything the current train of computation can solve.
Okay, well, I'll ask my question. When you're talking about getting 0 to 1 in 10, 30, 60 days, are you delineating between, I'll call it like a tech SaaS product versus a service that is supported by technology and AI, and a physical product that a manufacturer might make, like a knife or a, I don't know, new type of pan?
That's a very, very good question. What we can do with software is, of course, you have fewer of those physical world constraints. But a lot of when we look at ventures which are about products and services in the physical world, we are looking at a lot of market questions as well, right? So, for instance, will people find this valuable? What are they willing to pay for it? What are the channels in which we can use to distribute this? How do we think about supply chain? All of these things have been relatively time-consuming and expensive to model, back to the modeling question. And we do find that these new tools allow us to simulate those questions, not to 100% fidelity, but it allows, but let's say, for instance, we have a question about what customers would value. The old way of doing this was to run open-ended interviews and then very structured interviews, customer research. Just recruiting those people is a time-consuming and very expensive process. Most people don't want to spend time talking to you. It's just a reality, especially in B2B sectors. But what we found is that these AI, even in its current state, and it continues to evolve quickly, allows us to simulate to a high enough fidelity that it can significantly compress the amount of customer research we need to do, and accelerate the getting to quality of that customer research with real people. Similarly with other things, whether it's like supply chains or design constraints, we can just do more with less now. So while it's not the same as a software SaaS product, this new class of technology is having a ripple effect across how we do all businesses, I believe. Almost all. I'm sure there are some exceptions. but I haven't seen a space which is invulnerable to being able to model things cheaper or operationalize things in new ways.
No, go ahead.
This is an easy one.
Go for it. Have it.
What kind of ride would I have to offer you to bring an event or a conference out to Grants Pass? We're already working on it, Dan.
And to piggyback off of that was weird. I was going to ask, you guys talked about having several different workshops and things and every 2 weeks. Are those still ongoing in Ashland and things that people can show up? And would you be interested in doing some here? That was where I was going.
I think the answer is absolutely. Our goal with the summit was to create a seed of something that we can test a lot of hypotheses quickly, and we found a lot of successes in that and things that worked well. The meetup has been very successful, and it is the thing we can see bringing to different parts of the valley.
And they are still offering Grants Pass and I see days.
Yeah.
Trevor, do we have just a few more minutes? Okay, so what you guys are doing is amazing, truly amazing. I wished you guys would actually just come to Medford, 7 miles away. Just the storytelling, the getting people involved, getting your community involved, helping your small businesses understand their value, their worth, and helping them be better entrepreneurs than they currently are, and making sure that they can find that within themselves. So I would just say thank you on that, and there's 2 more questions, so I do think we have probably about 3 or 4 minutes would be my guess.
Mine is quick. From your team, from what you see in the near future, what's missing? What do you need?
Great question. More time in the day is the main thing. I would say, honestly, right now, the 2 things that I feel like we're behind on, one is marketing. Like, to do marketing right is time consuming, even with all these tools. It's just because it's human communication, right? There's just no substitute for talking to somebody. And in fact, our meetups are our best marketing, right? And everything else is subpar relative to that. But we do need to tell our story. We need to make the videos and communicate, do the email marketing, all those things we know. Anybody who runs a business knows are critical. The second thing is we just need to do more of the curation of those amazing people in our larger landscape, bringing them in to speak at our events and so forth. So it's like a content curation. So our small team, and we have a lot of people who help, but we could really use help in both those areas.
Development, it always comes down to development. In development, I think of that as very similar to the communication that happens with marketing, where you're letting people know what role they can play, and it doesn't always mean that it's money. Sometimes it's time, sometimes it's volunteerism, sometimes it's talent, but just building that community takes that marketing piece and the development piece. And then everybody's invested in the projects, and they go because we do it together.
Hi, so I'm curious. I've been in real estate for 13 years here, and in those 13 years, I've seen such a quick transition from the importance of helping clients find homes to really the importance is creating the ease of the experience from beginning to end. Consumers today can go on and they can find their home and look at where they want to be. We're just kind of we're the people that get to help these people transition through this experience. And make the experience as enjoyable as possible. So I guess my question would be, in that, how can you guys help us in our business create a better experience for our clients?
I think all these conversations come down to talking through what is working really well and where your friction points are, and figuring out, finding the Venn diagram with those points and where we have tools. this point, I estimate there's probably at least 50,000 new AI tools that are reasonably usable. And part of what we see our role as is being able to help curate those to figure out for your problems what will help you.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
Damien asked a question a little bit similar, but I'm going to reframe it a little bit and ask it slightly differently. How can this community help you?
Honestly, the Hive has been one of our models from the beginning that is a demonstration of a really good, successful working thing that we can base some of what we do off of on our side of the valley. So these conversations are very helpful.
And Kim, Kim is our model.
Thor, how about you? Anything that we can do to help this grow or take its next steps or integrate?
Well, I think that we have clues for what that is from some of the questions. This, even though we think locally, we need to act bioregionally. to reframe the old saying, i.e., we are all part of one Southern Oregon, and certainly one part of a one Rogue Valley, but sometimes it doesn't feel that way, and so the very tangible collaborations that we can do, like this is the start of that, right? And that will feel so much different as we make that real. So that's what I think we should do next.
And this event, 1 million cups, a cup of coffee makes a big difference.
Let's have another big hand for these four making incredible things happen in the Valley. I'll say I was one of the lucky people who got to participate in Regen AI, the conference they held in the fall. Yeah. And I'll say, much like everything with AI, it wasn't at all what I expected when I went. And I don't know that I had a lot of expectations, but if I did have expectations, it wasn't what those might have been. It was an incredible experience. And what we have here is a unique blend and combination of incredible intelligence, creativity, community, and we're so lucky to have these folks and others working on their team to help bring these events together. And we're lucky that it's happening here in Southern Oregon. It really is a special event. And I felt lucky and honored to be in that space. So thank you all. And I'm excited about the opportunity of doing something here on this end of the valley. So we're going to work towards that. But it takes a lot of energy. And so I don't want to dilute that energy too early, right? So we're working to make sure that it's a sustainable thing and that it can grow organically, I guess, if you will. Awesome. Thor, Aurora, Aaron, Cynthia, thank you so much for being here. Another big hand, please. And I'll work really hard to bring them here soon. All right, so you don't have to go anywhere. You can stay and hang out and network with each other. Make sure you can connect and ask more questions. If you have any ideas, you're brainstorming, stay, hang out, and connect with each other. Enjoy. Thank you very much.
What's that?
Well, nice to meet you. Yeah. We have talked about this.